Well, we are here with Mark Allen Martinson. He's running for the open assembly seat in downtown Anchorage. Good morning, Mark Allen. How are you doing?
Good morning. Very good.
Okay, well, let's get right into it. What makes you the most qualified candidate for this assembly seat?
Well, I think my experience mostly with Anchorage. I've lived here quite a while and worked for the city government. And I've also spent a lot of time in rural and urban Alaska with a lot of infrastructure development projects. And I would like to see Anchorage kind of lead the way in conserving energy and expanding mass transport, kind of lead the state in conserving energy on alternative energy methods.
Okay, well, if voters agree with you and you are elected, what's the first action you would take or the first issue you want to address as an assembly member?
I would really like to expand mass transit. I think there's some federal funds out there to do it. I think we need to make it easier for people to get around Anchorage. And the tourists also in the summer. A lot of people have a hard time getting to places. Right now there's a big issue with cabs, not enough cabs available. Part of that issue is related to the lack of mass transport late at night and on the weekends. And so I'd like to expand mass transit as much as I can, and I think there's money out there for it.
All right, and so what are your thoughts on the budget the Assembly just passed for the next fiscal year? What do you agree with? What would you have wanted done differently?
Well, I think it's obvious that we've been spending too much money on software projects. Even back when I worked in the city, the municipality, there were always issues with the new hot software that we had to have, and it turns out a lot of those contracts, I think, were just a bill of goods they sold to the municipal government.
So you're talking about the SAP project?
SAP and some other ones that are coming up. I think the other issue is the new method of doing our elections. I have this theory that if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I don't know that our election method was that bad. The story I got was that there were difficulties getting people to work for it. And I find that hard to believe. I like the old method where you went to your polling place, voted, and then you got the results fairly quick. I think the new way may be more secure and maybe better in some respects, but I think it'll take a long time to get the results and with a lot of excess expense.
So you were not a vote-by-mail fan?
I'm not a vote-by-mail fan, that's correct.
Okay, so moving on, do you support a sales tax as a way to shift some of the burden off of property owners and diversify our tax base?
Sales tax would be a possibility. I would also like to see, even more so, a school tax. The school tax that we used to have here in Alaska years ago. And it came out of your first paycheck, and everybody contributed the same amount. I can't remember what the exact amount was, but it was so much a year from every person. And at that time, I was working with a guy that didn't have any children, and so he was griping about having to pay the school tax. But I mean, at least it's money dedicated to the schools. And you know, our children are our future. We have to rely on them to take care of us when we age. So the other advantage of that is it would actually get some seasonal workers who often come up here, make much money during the summer season or the winter season, depending on where they're working, and then take the money and leave the state. And so the residents end up paying a lot of the utility bills through the winter and, you know, upkeep on the whole city.
Would you say you're more in favor of a school tax than a sales tax?
Yes, I probably would be. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I know this next issue is something that you see a lot in downtown. What grade would you give the Anchorage Muni on how it's dealing with the homelessness issue? What needs to be done? What can we do better?
Well, I have visited some apartments for homeless that they've set up, and I think that's a good idea to get them off the street. I think it'd be nice to get them away from the downtown area. There's some substance abuse issues with a lot of the homeless. I think the biggest problem is that they're coming to Anchorage from other rural areas and ending up staying here. And so I think the whole state needs to get involved and try and keep, you know, everybody just from coming to Anchorage and ending up staying here and living on the street, or, you know, taxing our taxes to take care of them.
So keep some people out of Anchorage?
No, I think we just need to relocate to different areas. And then I don't think we need so much the apartments as maybe more like a bunkhouse type arrangement. It's very common in fish industry and other, on the slope, in fact, also.
Okay, so the mayor wants to grow the police force by 56 more officers this year. Are there steps other than hiring more officers the Muni could take to improve public safety?
Well, the biggest step is to get some eyes on the street. I would like to see the citizens assisting the police. And we are now. I mean, especially in the downtown area, we have the ability to see what's going on and call in complaints, call the police. I know they're overworked. The size of the force for the city is probably a little small. I think they're also dealing with a lot of events that we have going on. And so a lot of times they're directing traffic when perhaps they could spend more time fighting crime, tracking down leads, things like that.
Okay, so the mayor said he won't allow our police department to round up refugees for immigration services, even under the threat of losing federal funds. Do you agree with that?
Losing federal funds is probably a pretty big step. I think the immigration officers probably have enough people to do that. When I lived out in Dutch Harbor in Alaska, they would occasionally have some raids and round up illegal immigrants, aliens. I mean, I don't see how he can do it, I guess, is the whole thing. He's going to have to be assisting, and we have to have our federal funding.
Okay. And do you think the city should find a way to allow ride-sharing services like Uber and Lyft to operate here in Anchorage?
Yeah, I think they should. I think we need to expand our taxi pool. But at the same time, I think that goes hand in hand with the increased mass transit. It's hard to get, home after an evening out, whether it's locals or visitors. And so because of that, that's put the pressure on the taxi company. So there's certain times of the day and then certain conditions of the weather when it's very cold, where it takes a long time to get a cab, a taxi cab. So in that respect, we need more taxis available and also on hand with more mass transit.
Okay, last question for you. What is one question that you want to make, or one promise that you want to make to voters right now that you will fulfill if elected?
I would really like to turn off the heated sidewalks in downtown Anchorage. I think it's a waste of energy, and I think it would also bring people together to understand the problem of wasting energy and just not conserving like we should. We're just, instead of shoveling with our street crews that we have, we're just burning more petroleum. And I've seen that a lot in Bush, Alaska too, where we just transfer a lot of the energy instead of from local sources to imported petroleum.
Okay. Well, Mark Allen Martinson, thank you so much for your time and good luck to you.
All right. Thanks a lot.